So, all right, we'll call the meeting to order, and we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance, and then Councilman Coleman will give the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and unto the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us bow our heads in prayer. O God of goodness, who calls us to live in harmony and respect for one another, a call seemingly lost in a world increasingly drawn to violence and fear. Christ has called us to be peacekeepers. Open our hearts, Lord, that we may find the compassion to care for those families whose lives have been touched by violence. Soften the hearts of those who would do harm to others, so that their hatreds will be replaced with love, their violence with peace, and their future with hopefulness. We live together in one small dot of your universe, and yet we have the challenge, the responsibility, and the opportunity to make this town a reflection of your love. Create through us a town where it is not only easier to be good, but to do good. May we not forget that we are all one and that we have been called to thrive together. This evening, our thoughts go out to the town manager and his family as they experience the loss of a loved one. As a town council, may we continue to bring out the best in one another. May we proclaim your goodness in all that we say and all that we do. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. If you'll notice, the town manager is not here tonight, and Councilman Coleman touched on it. His wife's grandmother died this afternoon, Marge Smith. Some of you know her, so we would like to keep them in our prayers and thoughts. All of you have had an opportunity to read over the minutes of the special meeting, April the 17th, April the 24th, and our regular meeting on April the 11th. So if there are no corrections, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those approve of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Okay, the next thing on our agenda is a presentation from the Edenton Partnership. We do an annual update for all the people that we give money to during the year. And so, Michelle, we'll hear you now.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Stallings and members of the Town Council, for the opportunity to come before you tonight to share an update on the Edenton Partnership and the work that has taken place with economic growth and development in our community and the impact that it has had. A little bit about us. The Edenton Partnership started in 1996 as the Edenton Development Corporation to provide an organization and supporting culture that could foster and maximize synergy between the leadership of the town of Edenton, Chowan County, and the private sector, with the purpose of strengthening economic development in our community. In 2012, the Edenton Economic Development Corporation filed for 501c3 status and became the Edenton Partnership Incorporated. The partnership is classified by the IRS as a private charity exempt from federal income tax. The partnership is governed by bylaws that establish a board of directors that can have up to 17 but not fewer than 3 members. The board of directors may be composed of at least 1, but up to 3 members named by the mayor of the town of Edenton, at least 1 but up to 3 members named by the chairman of the Chowan County Board of Commissioners, and private sector members as they may be elected by the board of directors. Appointments and terms are governed by the bylaws. Currently, the board is comprised of 15 members, including the mayor of Edenton, chairman of the Chowan County Board of Commissioners, and as ex officio members, the town manager of Edenton and the manager of the Chowan County Board of Commissioners. The mayor and the chairman of the Chowan County Board of Commissioners may name up to 3 members to serve on the board. The Edenton Partnership employs a part-time administrative officer and shares a receptionist with the Edenton Chamber of Commerce and the Chowan Tourism Development Authority. At present, there are 15 voting members on the board of directors. Currently serving on the board are Roland H. Vaughn, chairman, Brian Harville, vice chairman, Bob Kirby, secretary, Scotty Sykes, treasurer, Mike Adams, Lori Buckhout, John Dowd, Mary Scott Hagler, Patty Kersey, Larry McLaughlin, Joan Maxwell, B.J. Potts, Bob Quinn, Simon Rich III, Mayor Jimmy Stallings, and we have 2 founding emeritus members. That is Jerry Clymer and Cy Rich. The partnership is funded through generous contributions from private business partners and public partners. Some of our private business partners include Colony Tire Corporation, Jimbo Jumbos, Regulator Marine, Albemarle Boats, Daedalus Yachts, ECU Health Chowan Hospital, Stevens Towing, Nebraska Plastics, Sykes and Company, WAP Contracting, A.R. Chesson, Southern Bank, Perry and Company, and numerous private individual donors. Our key public partners are the town of Edenton and Chowan County. Through our public and private partnerships, we have been able to team with our area businesses to support their efforts for growth and expansion, which has enabled them to continue to be competitive industry leaders. In 2015, Jimbo Jumbos invested $30 million to expand its operations in Chowan County, creating over 78 jobs. The project was made possible in part by a performance-based grant from the One North Carolina Fund of up to $156,000. The One North Carolina Fund provides financial assistance through local governments to attract business projects that will stimulate economic activity and create new jobs in the state. Companies receive no money up front and must meet job creation and investment performance standards to qualify for these grants. These grant funds are also contingent upon local matches. The Edenton Partnership donated 8.8 acres of land to Jimbo Jumbos to allow for their expansion of their facility on Peanut Drive. In 2019, we partnered with the town of Edenton to secure a $400,000 building and reuse grant from the North Carolina Department of Commerce for Colony Tire Corporation to add 100,000 square feet to their existing facility here in Edenton. The Edenton Partnership funded the 5% cash match required for the grant in the amount of $20,000. The project was a $3.3 million private investment by Colony Tire and resulted in their adding 40 jobs in the community. The goal of the state's Building and Reuse Program grant is to encourage transformation of older buildings and communities into assets to attract new and expanding businesses. In 2022, the Edenton Partnership and the town of Edenton teamed with Regulator Marine to receive a building and reuse grant from the North Carolina Department of Commerce, which added 13,000 square feet of expansion to its current Edenton facility. The project created more than 25 jobs with a private investment of $617,000 by Regulator. The president and CEO, Joan Maxwell, said the building allows for critical build functions to continue that were limited by their previous facility, and the company now operates in a 130,000 square foot facility. In October of 2022, we partnered with Albemarle Boats and the town of Edenton to help secure a $150,000 rural investment building and reuse grant from the NC Department of Commerce for the company to expand by adding 19,800 square feet to its existing facility and creating 21 new jobs within the company. The overall project will involve a private investment by Albemarle Boats in the amount of $2.1 million. The partnership began its relationship with Daedalus Yachts early on by working to help the company establish offices and a research factory in the former Carolina Classics boat factory. We partnered with Daedalus and the town of Edenton to secure a rural investment building and reuse grant from the Department of Commerce in 2019 in the amount of $500,000. The partnership teamed up again with Daedalus and the town of Edenton in 2022 to secure a second rural investment grant in the amount of $500,000. With these two grants, Daedalus plans a private investment of $879,775 and plans to create between 50 and up to 136 new jobs over the next few years. As the Edenton Ice and Cold Storage Building sat vacant on Edenton's waterfront, the partnership became involved in funding an engineering study for the feasibility and use of the facility, which led to the development of two plans for a $4 million multi-purpose retail restaurant facility or a craft brewery. That study opened the door for Herringbone Hospitality to create the Herringbone Restaurant, a destination dining experience here in our community. The Edenton Partnership, Herringbone Hospitality, and the town of Edenton partnered together to secure a $25,000 building and reuse grant from the Department of Commerce. The project is a $1.4 million private investment from Herringbone Hospitality that was required to create a minimum of 5 full-time jobs. They currently employ approximately 43 people on a full and part-time basis. In 2020, Stevens Towing was one of 9 marine highway projects that received federal funding with a more than $1 million marine highway grant from the U.S. Department of Transportation's Maritime Administration to upgrade their infrastructure. The funding seeks to help address supply chain disruptions, enhance movement of goods along navigable waterways, and expand existing waterborne freight services. The grant funds were used for an equipment upgrade project which allowed Stevens Towing to have a new container barge operation that enables marine traffic to replace truck cargo and alleviate some of the traffic along US 17 and I-95. Currently, Stevens Towing uses the marine highway to send Nucor's finished steel up to Pennsylvania and New Jersey. The steel is loaded onto barges at the Riverwalk Terminal and takes 120 to 180 semi-truckloads off the highway per barge. The Edenton Partnership teamed with Stevens Towing and Chowan County leaders by adopting resolutions encouraging governmental agencies to support dredging and waterfront development of the 50-acre site and other facilities as part of this effort. In 2022, the Edenton Partnership partnered with Stevens Towing, Chowan County, and the town of Edenton to establish JWF Industries and JWF Defense Systems to locate in one of the facilities at the Riverwalk Terminal. The defense contracting company has created 12 or more jobs in the county with the possibility of further expansion. Nebraska Plastics, a Nebraska-based vinyl manufacturer, received a performance-based North Carolina grant in the amount of $60,000, assisted by the Edenton Partnership, Chowan County, and the town of Edenton, who partnered together to establish Nebraska Plastics' second facility here. The relocation was a $1 million private investment that created 22 jobs here in the county. Both JFW and Nebraska Plastics are here mostly because of their direct involvement with the members of the partnership. The partnership was instrumental in inviting Saga Construction to review the sale proposal of the former Chowan County office building, or the old Hinton Hotel, which led to the sale and purchase of the property. The partnership continues to be in communication with the people at Saga, and we continue to work with the town of Edenton to facilitate work to begin on the $15 million plus renovation for a boutique hotel at that site. The partnership worked to help expand the former BioCamp location to what is now Good Earth, retaining the business at the same airport location. The partnership actively supports the future I-87 corridor, and we contribute funding to the Highway 1764 Association jointly with Chowan County. Partnership is actively working with the town of Edenton and the new owners of the Village Shopping Center to identify productive uses of the facility, and we are actively working to encourage a grocery retail chain to anchor in that facility. The Edenton Partnership has long recognized the need for expanded internet access in the rural areas of Chowan County. The partnership initially established an internet broadband study group exploring greater access into fiber optic cables, which later led to the expansion of broadband funding and access options through the USDA's Cool and Connect program. The partnership is currently supporting the efforts of Chowan County with the current broadband expansion efforts through the $4 million GREAT grant and an additional $4 million grant through the Completing Access Broadband Program, or CAB as it is known. The Edenton-Chowan Partnership has also helped support the efforts of other local agencies by drafting a Golden Leaf application used by the Chowan County Tourism and Development Authority in successfully seeking a $150,000 grant for the promotion of tourism and retirement in Edenton and Chowan County. The partnership partnered with the town of Edenton in 2014 to draft and submit an application for the designation of Edenton as a certified retirement community. The partnership funded the original $10,000 application fee for the certification. The partnership drafted, submitted, and funded recertification in 2022. The recertification was in the amount of $3,000. The partnership is also actively working to convert the former quartermaster's building on Midway Drive as a useful industrial site. At our April 24th, 23 board meeting, the partnership invited Andrew Marchenko and David Ammons, president of Retired Living Associates, as an opportunity for an update on the Sandy Point project and an effort to bring Mr. Ammons and Mr. Marchenko together for discussion about the potential location of a retirement living community. The Edenton-Chowan Partnership also values the quality of educations our students have available to them and receive. We have worked with the Edenton-Chowan schools on a partnership-sponsored workforce improvement committee that connected the school system with COA to expand cooperative workforce education programs. We have supported the school system's efforts for implementing career readiness certificates that enable Chowan County to be designated a workforce-ready community. We also partnered with the school system in researching the construction of a teacherage and obtained cooperation from Southern Bank to donate land on Polk Avenue for the facility. The partnership has been instrumental in working with College of the Albemarle and the public schools to enhance workforce development opportunities, such as launching a CDL training program through the College of the Albemarle to help alleviate the need for truck and school bus drivers in our area, and developing a boat building program to create a skilled workforce for our major boat manufacturers to recruit from. The partnership is working with the public schools on harnessing the power of career and technical education classes and career pathways to better meet the employment needs of industry in our community, as well as planning for future careers that will be connected to the expansion of broadband in our county and green energy careers, with the impending wind farm to be located in Chowan County and growing solar farms in our area. These partnerships will strengthen our ability to develop targeted workforce training that will enhance employers' ability to attract and retain employees related to these and other related industries. The partnership has also been working on seeking additional opportunities for a second retail grocery store. The partnership helped fund the $7,000 with the town of Edenton and Electricities for a study on the recruitment and location of a second grocery store. We have also provided additional funding to update the study to reflect changing dynamics in grocery operations. We are continuing to actively work to seek a second retail grocery store for our community. The Edenton-Chowan Partnership works to provide services and resources to support the town of Edenton and Chowan County in their goals for economic development. Part of the town's strategic vision is to continue to invest in general aviation and aviation services and support the Airport Commission in its efforts to promote our aviation assets and promote regional economic development efforts with the Tidewater, Virginia area to Edenton and northeastern North Carolina, focusing on the Virginia Ports Authority and the railroad, and to promote the benefits of Edenton and Chowan County as part of the forward and trade zone that connects us with the ports of Virginia. The Edenton-Chowan Airport Industrial Park, as well as the adjacent Northeast Regional Airport, have the potential to attract business and industry to help meet these goals. Our area has geographical strengths that can be leveraged to attract business and industry to the industrial park. The Edenton Partnership is committed to supporting the Airport Commission and these goals of the town. The partnership has worked with the town of Edenton to redefine a conservation easement at 140 Midway Drive, which consists of 42.24 acres of land, which frees up approximately more than 22 acres for suitable industrial development adjacent to the Albemarle Sound. The partnership facilitated the sale of lots in Phase 1 for construction of new offices for Security Collections Agency and Applied Business Services, as well as the resale of a Phase 1 industrial building for Coastal Agribusiness's regional office and warehouse. We wrote a successful application to the Golden Leaf Foundation for $25,000 to study the future uses and limitations of the firing range lot located in Phase 2 of the park. The partnership recently harvested timber in Phase 2 and used the funds from the sale of the timber to develop 8 acres into shovel-ready lots which are ready for development. We have advertised Phase 2 sites on the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina's website, and we are currently working to attract business and industry to the sites in our Phase 2 part of the industrial park. When you think about who we are, a small 501c3 in rural northeastern North Carolina, focused on bringing together business leaders, government officials, community members, and others to work on initiatives that support our businesses and the local economy, the overall community impact has been substantial. The Edenton Partnership may be a small organization, but when we collaborate with our business partners and our private partners, we are mighty. The Edenton Partnership, with our business and private partners, together have helped garner $1.39 million in grant funding from the North Carolina Department of Commerce. We've supported local business and industry as they invested more than $38 million in Chowan County and the town of Edenton, which has resulted in 339 new jobs created for our citizens. It's especially remarkable when the majority of this work took place during and on the tailcoats of a pandemic. On behalf of the Edenton Partnership Board of Directors, I want to thank the Town Council for their continued support for the work that we do. We look forward to our continuing success as we partner together this upcoming year and in future years. And thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michelle, for this very informative presentation you gave. I know the partnership stays busy and they are on all the projects and everything. I'm involved with it as well. But thank you very much for a well-informed presentation. Thank you.
Mayor, I just want to say I'm glad the partnership is working with Mr. David Ammons from Raleigh, I believe, and he was my former employer, and I believe the family still owns Springmore in the Raleigh area. He's very knowledgeable in the construction and the operation of continuum care retirement communities. You got a good man there. I'm glad you're working with him.
Any other comment? All right, hearing done, we'll move now to our committee reports, and the first one is the Administration Committee, and that's chaired by Councilman High.
Thank you, Mayor Stallings. We have 3 items to report on tonight. The first item is the renewal of our health insurance. We had a very detailed presentation from our insurance consultant at our last committee meeting. We were pleased to see that the sharp increases that we saw last fiscal year were not present this year. Very much reduced increases. Yeah. And they recommended that we move forward, and the Administration Committee pushed this to tonight with the recommendation that we renew as advised by our insurance consultant. I'll put that in the form of a motion that we renew pursuant to the recommendations of our consultant.
Second.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. All those, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, Mayor. The second item, I am going to ask that we table this until the next full meeting in June, and that is a town council meeting procedures review. I spoke with Corey this afternoon, and as you mentioned, and as Councilman Coleman mentioned, his wife's grandmother did pass away this afternoon, and he requested that I make this request, and I told him I'd ask y'all to honor the request. He put a lot of work into the items that are going to be recommended, and he wanted to be here to be able to discuss those with us. So if there's no objection, I would put it in the form of a motion that we table this until our June meeting.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I have a question. Could we make that a special agenda item? Do you oppose to that at the next meeting?
And what would be what do you mean a special?
So we'll vote on it in the committee meeting versus the full council meeting?
I was
We still vote on it.
I was just gonna put it, I mean, I don't see any need to rush it. I mean, if it was a timely matter, we generally tried to limit special meetings to emergencies or something that just came up. And if it's on a regularly scheduled meeting, we typically table it and move it forward to the next meeting. And so that was just a request that he made, and based on what we normally do, whatever meeting is on, again, unless there's some emergency, we push it to the same type of meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And Mayor, the final item that we have to report on is the timber sales out at the airport. Corey Dwayne gave us a staff report last time, and we recommended that we push it to tonight's meeting and vote in favor of those sales. And I would put that in the form of a motion also, Mayor.
Okay.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Dwayne, did you have anything to add other than what we discussed at the last meeting? It appeared to be fairly straightforward.
I had one question. My understanding that we're cutting down the timber to protect the runways from deer. Was that the primary purpose of?
My understanding was it was a FAA regulation, if I'm not mistaken, that there had to be a certain amount of clearance for the landing
Okay.
zone.
Okay.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And Mayor, that concludes the reports of the Administrative Committee. Thank you.
Okay, the next is the Public Works Committee, and that's chaired by Councilman Miller.
Mayor, just one item tonight, and it has to do with the cemetery ordinance revision. As we discussed at our April 24th council committee meeting, the town has reviewed the existing cemetery ordinance for the purpose of refining the language to help better define the rules and regulations about items of remembrance and their proper placement at cemetery plots. I would like to put this in the form of a motion to authorize the town to revise the current cemetery ordinance language.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
That's all, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. And the next is new business, and the first one is the resolution for Surf, Wind, and Fire food truck Sunday events. And Timmy, that's...
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for having me once again. Surf, Wind, and Fire is once again asking for a resolution for our Sunday street party event. Previously, we had asked for a resolution to have beer and wine on King Street and a little corridor down to Edenton Bay Trading Company so that people could bring their beverage to King Street and enjoy the party. The only difference in that this time is we're also asking for the same thing from Governor's Pub to King Street. So we can bring business to both of those businesses as well. We also, I believe we're asking for a batch resolution. We've submitted permit applications through the end of the year for the first Sunday of the month, except for this coming Sunday, which will be the 14th. And I'm not sure how many Sundays are down on the resolution. Is that through the end of the year?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And then the only other one, aside from this coming Sunday, is January 1st, which is a Monday, but sort of a Sunday in spirit. Any questions for me?
Mayor, I've just got a few. Timmy, I appreciate you doing this. I've been to a couple of those. How many have you had total this year?
This year, I believe we've had 2.
And you've had a good turnout at each one of those?
Yes, sir. It's hard to figure out exactly how many people have been, but we had 2 food trucks at this last event, and they both sold out of food.
Good.
And what types of activities do you have for young children, say, 3 to 9 or 10 or so?
We have a face painter who comes and does face painting for the kids, and we pay for that, so it's free for the families. We also have sidewalk chalk and cornhole and different games set up. We're also planning on having different themes each time moving forward. So I think the June one is supposed to be sort of a summer vacation out of school bash type thing. And we're planning on having a bounce house and maybe a splash tank, just other fun family-friendly activities that kids can participate in.
And do you and the police chief meet as a part of this process to discuss any issues or discuss how things have been going and just review it?
I have not yet. I have been in email communication with the police chief, and we usually ask for an off-duty police officer to be at the event. And so far, we've been very pleased with working with the police department. But I think that's a good idea for me to sit down with the police chief and just make sure that things are going well from his perspective and ours, and to continue that partnership.
And lastly, you've not received any complaints from the police department?
No, sir.
Regarding the event?
No, sir.
And
Like I said, I appreciate you guys doing it.
Thank you.
yeah, I do too. As far as inclement weather, what happens? You just
I think since these are about to be fairly regular,
Yeah.
once a month, we're planning on only canceling if it's dangerous weather. We'd like to do it rain or shine just to give people something to do on Sundays. But if it's going to be excessive heat or a hurricane, or in the winter if there's an ice storm or something, we will cancel if it's going to be dangerous, and people will have to wait for the next month.
gotcha.
Will this resolution allow for flexibility of dates, or no? Would he have to come back?
You would have to come back, because it has to be very poignant.
So pray for good weather.
It really seems, it seems like it's still a need on Sundays. Really, I couldn't believe me, I was down there too.
Yeah.
I saw Hack, and they sold out right after I got my food. All your problems.
It started raining after he came in.
So rain.
All that time.
And Mayor Stallings, along the lines of Councilman Dixon talking about it filling a need, I was out of town this weekend, a town that I consider one of our competitors, and the amount of activity that they were having downtown on a Sunday compared to ours was we got a long ways to go. I wanted to say embarrassing, but people like Timmy are taking efforts to try to liven things up. And as you walk through town on Sunday, visitors will ask you, what is there to do in town? Is there anything going on downtown on Sunday? You just kind of have to, put both palms up in the air. So I appreciate what you're trying to do, and we always need to recognize the fact that there are other towns around us being very aggressive to appeal to Sunday tourists and Sunday people in town that are just looking for something to do.
Yeah.
So,
I'd also like to say we are now partnering with Visit Edenton as well moving forward. So we're excited to see what that does for, I think, both Visit Edenton's audience and our audience. It seems like a lot of our attendance has been locals. I've recognized a lot of families, a lot of faces. So we're looking forward, especially when summer comes, we're looking forward to see how many people from out of town we can get coming to Edenton for this event as well. with the
Thank
partner.
you for doing what you're doing. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for your continued support.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions of Timmy while he's here? If not, I also agree that we thank you for what you're doing. really do, absolutely. Okay, this is going to require action on this, so I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion, Mayor.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Just thank you for all you're doing. Appreciate it.
All right, hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now, I think we're talking about, what, 9 events, I believe is what it is. Yeah. Okay, the next is a budget amendment from the Department of Commerce Building Reuse Grant for the herringbone, and that was a $25,000 building reuse, and it was a 5% match from the town, and they were guaranteed to have at least 5 employees, and I believe we heard Michelle say earlier, they now have 43. So they have certainly met their obligation. So any discussion on that?
Is that just us releasing the funds to them?
That is
They
correct.
met all the
Yes.
target guidelines?
Yes. I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, and next is Hospitality Incorporated, and that was slated for Corey. Dwayne, are you?
We did that one.
That was the one we just did. That was left off, so we,
Okay, all right. All right, number 3 is Electric Utility Systems relocation. NC DOT wants us to remove some poles from at 32 and 37 intersection. You want to comment on that?
The NCDOT Division 1 has requested the council approve the agreement with NCDOT for the town to relocate 4 utility poles at the intersection of NC 32 and NC 37. That's also known as Poplar Neck and Halton Road. This relocation will allow DOT to modify the intersection to improve traffic flow and safety.
Okay. Any questions of Dwayne?
I move we approve that.
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, the next is a budget amendment for the same situation. As I understand it, it's going to cost $61,000 to do that, from which NC DOT will
Reimburse.
thank you, reimburse us for the $61,100.
Make a motion.
Okay,
Second.
we have a motion and 2 seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. All right, and that ends our discussions on our committee reports. And the next is items considered timely important. Anybody up here have anything
I
that,
just want to say I'm getting a lot of good, positive feedback on our road resurfacing project. I know right now we're almost in the middle of it. I believe it goes to the end of this month. But the citizens I've talked to are very pleased with what's going on in town. I believe Dwayne, you correct me if I'm wrong, we're doing about 15 streets?
Yes, sir, I believe that's correct.
That's a goodly number.
And Dwayne, I just want to follow on. I want to make sure, I'll say this so Councilman Bond doesn't have to say it. I think we really got to look at those areas that don't have curb gutters and
Yes.
sidewalks and start making sure that they all get them.
I believe they're starting to be identified, and moving forward, that's trying to get an idea of the
And also, we've had some complaints, and Councilman Dixon has brought this up repeatedly, and also one of our citizens has also, regarding some of the standing water over in the Mill Village. Is that going to be addressed in our next round?
I believe so. I don't have that answer for you right now, but I do know that town manager's figuring out
Right.
that. I believe it was spoken last time that there's a lot of unknown pipes in the area and stuff like that. So probably ground penetrating radar and stuff like that would have to be utilized to be able to really.
And that was done, the paving was done by a different paving company too. I'm not saying they caused the problem, but we now have a different, we're dealing with a different paving company, correct? Yes.
Yes, sir.
But as I understand it, it was not, the problem did not exist prior to the previous contractor doing the
Right.
work, and now it exists.
If somebody could look at the area right beside the Hayes Bridge, people walk, there's a walkway on that bridge, people fish over there all day long, and there's a hole in the ground. There's some asphalt that's spread around, and I'm just worried somebody's gonna
So
put
like-
their foot in there and break it.
Like a sinkhole, a small
Yeah.
sinkhole or something?
Yeah, yeah.
That's gonna be if you're entering,
If you're entering to the right.
To the right.
Yeah, I noticed that the other day.
I'll have, the DOT, look at that, or not DOT, Public Works look at it.
And Dwayne, it's my understanding that the 100 block of East Queen is going to be addressed?
Yes, that's my understanding.
That is the worst.
It is. And there was a lot of construction going on at the
Yeah.
house building, a lot of in and out. And I didn't think they wanted to repave that at that time. Now that that's done, I think would be,
East Queen,
it's
right.
gonna be.
Yeah, a lady fell and broke her arm coming out of the cleaners
Yeah, yeah.
a couple of weeks ago, so that definitely does need to be addressed.
Wait, on that list of standing water, I got an email from a citizen complaining after Valentine Avenue was paved. There's been a lot of standing water on Valentine. This is an active pavement.
Okay, anything else up here?
Mayor Stevens, I would like to bring this up. We're not going to be able to get a full report since Mr. Gooden is not with us tonight, and I'll ask him to give us a further report at our next meeting. But just like all of us up here and a lot of us out here, very, very concerned about the continued violence and shootings that we have in town. And I encouraged him to look at any resources that are available out there, and I primarily focused on regional resources, state and federal resources, and I'm talking as far up as SBI and FBI. They have some task force programs that they will come in and provide us all the assistance that we have that we need, as long as we reach out to them and we are willing to cooperate with them. And he said he had already made some inroads on a regional basis, and I encouraged him and Chief King to look even further and look at the state level and the federal level. We don't have any answers, but we continue to search for them, and if there's some resources out there that we can tack into, we need to do it.
Yeah, and thank you for mentioning that and bringing it up. This past Friday, the town manager, Corey,
Yep.
and the police chief, the sheriff, and the sheriff from Paquimans County, the sheriff and the police chief from Elizabeth City all met together and talked about this problem, and it's going, some of them are leaving here and going to Hertford, and leaving Hertford and going to Elizabeth City and creating havoc, and they're gonna meet on a regular basis, this team that I just said, and they're gonna have the names of the people that the habitual ones that are doing all these things, and they're gonna set them down and explain to them, here's your options. You can stop doing this, you can come clean with what is happening, or your butt's going to jail. And it won't be for just overnight, so.
And I understand that, hold on, I understand that you and Mr. Gooden also met with the elected district attorney.
We did.
Last
Corey
week,
and I
too.
met with the district attorney Friday.
Good.
And he promised his help in anything. And I told him, I said, we're not really upset about that situation that happened. I know she was following the law, but we need your help. And he pledged that. So, yeah, we met with him for about an hour.
Well, I appreciate y'all doing all that.
Yeah.
Going along with that, is there a House bill right now looking at an e-felony charge for people carrying, shooting off guns in the neighborhoods? Is there something going on with the House bill to add more bite to the punishment?
That's out there, but
Yeah.
I'm not aware.
Nothing yet,
that it's
okay.
passed yet.
So, I've had the same conversation that Hack said about that. And one last thing is that I think Corey was gonna give a report tonight on Saga, what he's doing and where that's going. And I just, things we can do, we need to do it, but we can do what we can do. But he's got to tell us if there's anything else we can pass or add to our playbook to help bring that about.
Well, the partnership met last week with Sumit and his brother, and he had 10 people with him, the engineer, the architect, and several people. And what he said was good if he follows through with it. And you know, they're supposed to have lights on in the building. I don't know if that's happened yet or not, but they were, Billy,
They
I'm
got
looking.
the
Do you,
permit.
do,
Pull the permits for the electric will be turned off.
they have gotten the permits?
As far as I know, they pulled them, what, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah,
And-
they,
And my last understanding was that the electrical upgrades were 90% complete. I don't know if that last 10% has been reached since Friday. But yes, they have full electrical permits and everything. And
Yeah, they
I
was
can check with the
supposed to
building
have cameras in there and lights on and this type of thing to try to do away with the vandalism and this type of thing.
Are we looking
And
at a security system, Mayor? Is that going to be involved? A security system could be
Yes,
installed?
I
Okay.
said cameras.
Oh, cameras,
Yeah.
okay, great,
And
okay.
they're going to put a fence across the back to keep vandals
Gotcha.
out as well. And so they were very positive in their presentation. Now, how much they'll go through with it, I can't answer, but the partnership assured them that we would still be on them and watching them closely.
Good,
So.
good.
And I've got a bunch of people ask me if we're gonna transfer the jail and the jailer's house to Saga, and I keep telling them, we don't want it, we can't do
No.
that. So, this is the county owns that, we don't have.
Well, they wanted us to transfer some of that parking lot to them, and we said no until you show us some, that you're sincere and that you're gonna do some
Yeah. and-
things that you tell us you're gonna do. So the
And they
answer
are-
is, at this point in time, is no.
Yeah, and will continue to be no until we see some action on their
Absolutely.
part.
Right.
Yeah.
They have committed the week of May, June, sometime soon, they're supposed to hear, I think it's sometime this week, they're supposed to hear on some of the tax credit issues, but they have committed between late May and mid part of June to have a community event where we will all be invited, but just as importantly, if not more importantly, the community will be invited. And in a small meeting recently, Mayor Stallings and I told them that we are to the point, don't tell us, show us. And we're tired of hearing what you're going to do.
Yeah.
But the time has come to show us.
Do, just do.
And Eric Henderson, Irvin Henderson, who is with Preservation North Carolina, was in the group that was here last week, and he is trying to help them with the tax credits. Timmy, we met with him in Boston 2 weeks ago, and you as well. And he assured us that he was working on that. He couldn't promise anything, but he was with the group that came last week and spoke to the partnership. And so they made good promises. You know, time will tell.
I have a question. Where do we stand with our existing lawsuit? I haven't heard much on it. Have we been to court yet or anything?
What existing lawsuit?
Oh, with the monument.
Huh?
With the monument.
Oh,
The resident Superior Court judge issued an injunction
Right.
that prohibits us from moving it
Right.
until further order of the court. Some people have asked me, and there was also an ad in the newspaper that says we're not taking action and we need to take all steps necessary to overturn that ruling. And the judge has ruled and said in no uncertain terms that until the Supreme Court of our state gives him guidance with 2 current cases that are before the Supreme Court, that he's not going to overturn anything, he's not going to have a hearing on the merits, he's not going to basically do anything. And as a resident Superior Court judge here, he's kind of the gatekeeper, and he's the one that's hearing it. And he says, I've entered my order, and I'm waiting for the Supreme Court. So,
I think he could have the power, yeah, if we did that, I think he could.
oh, quite clearly, and that's what people don't understand. Well, why don't y'all just not obey his order? That would subject all of us to contempt of court with a number of different sanctions. And I'm not exaggerating when I say jail time, and I'm not, you know.
And I'm not interested in going there.
I don't want either.
But we will move when we can move. But that's my understanding. That's a good question.
Yeah, okay.
Councilman Costin, and that's my understanding of it. Is that your understanding?
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
sir.
wanted to make one comment. I wanted to thank you for the presentation you made of the American flag to Dr. Wells and Mr. Lawrence at the recent dedication of the Civil War monument. Oh, that was done with such thoughtfulness and such respect that it reflected well, not only on your integrity, but all of our integrity and the integrity of this town. I don't think anybody left that event without realizing this is a very special place. And I think your presentation was remarkable
Thank you.
in terms of its impact on
Yeah,
people.
thank you very much.
Mayor Stowns, I'd like to add to that. I was out of town that weekend and couldn't go, but probably more than any other event of that size or presentation of that size, I've had more people come up to me and say the same thing that Councilman Coleman said about that. Just people out of the blue. And do you want me to pass this
Yeah,
around?
pass that.
So,
Tell me now that your wife heard the speech.
yeah.
That's just a picture.
And there's a card. There's a card.
I'll leave mine
Oh,
until I speak.
shows me on my knees.
Did you get up all right?
He got up all right.
Yep, there's a card. Yep, there's a card right there. I think it's
Does anybody else up here have anything they need to bring up? If not, we'll open it up to the public for public comments. And we have 3 names on here. John Grant is number 1.
Good evening. Thank you all for letting me speak again. I appreciate the update on the Hinton. We're glad to see that you all are following through with holding their feet to the fire on that. I really appreciate it. You mentioned about what steps you could take. I had handed out some documents last month at the council meeting. I was just wondering if you all had looked at those or talked about them or anything of that nature.
I certainly looked at them and we talked about them, and we're just waiting for guidance from our attorney.
Okay.
And I think I think that went to him.
Okay.
With the, say, if there's anything we can do, let's
Okay.
do it.
Yeah, I appreciate you giving
Yeah,
that to us.
thank you.
Well, and I want to add that, you know, the Edenton Village, during the presentation, there's a mention that there's a new owner. I was aware that someone else had finally bought that thing. And I'm hoping that those ordinances can be utilized to help push that forward as well, to move that up. In regards to the Hinton, when you all met with the Guptas, was there any inspection done by a member of the town or the county in regards to that building?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
So the fire inspector went in
Yes.
there, and have they signed off on the building as far as the fire suppression system?
I don't know, but there's the chief standing behind you.
No, sir, it has not been finalized.
Okay, all right, any update on when that might be, do you know, or?
They've got to get back to service, and it's probably going to cost a lot, because the sewer line is busted on the third floor.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to have some time to get that done.
Okay, all right, and we were told at the last council meeting that the Guptas had said within 45 days they were gonna have the town meeting. Is that date now being pushed back a little bit, or?
Yes, and if we had tried to stick to the 45-day period, I don't think the update would have been as productive and satisfying as we hoped that the one we're talking about now would be. And that would be because within that time frame, a lot of the tax credits and other things, including some of the things that Chief Bass is working on.
Mhm.
And we get the sense, and again, I'm like Mayor Stowns, I'm tired of hearing what they're gonna do, but we get the sense that by pushing it back a little bit, we'll have a lot more positive things, tangible things
All right, well, I hope we'll all see that then.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, thank you all very much for your time.
All right, next is Lori Dablo.
I wanted to just follow up on the last time that I spoke. I mentioned to you that we were sending the petition, which had, when we took out the signatures that had been doubled up and people who were out of state, we had 900 signatures on the petition to enjoin Preservation North Carolina to buy back the Hinton Hotel. Sent that with a cover letter to Myrick Howard last week, and I just received a response from him, which I wanted to share with all of you, and I'd be happy to give you a copy if you'd like it. Dear Ms. Dablo, thank you for sending us the compilation of the community's concerns about the status of the Hotel Hinton in Edenton. We appreciate your interest in the welfare of this important historic building. We share your concern that progress on the building is significantly behind the planned rehabilitation timeline. We've had numerous conversations with Saga and their consultants through the years. This proposed $26 million project, I noticed that number was different in the presentation with the Chowan and Edenton partnership. It was 15 plus. Now it's $26 million project, requires substantial and complex financing. And there have been numerous changes in the federal and state tax codes related to the historic rehab credits and new market credits over the last decade. These changes have made financing for large projects more difficult for everyone. Further, COVID wiped out funding for hospitality projects for nearly 3 years. Several other projects across the state have been similarly been delayed. Note that our work with both the cotton mill and peanut mill also took many years. Both had happy results. I would just add to that, it was so impressive to hear what the Chowan and Edenton partnership has been able to do during the same pandemic when funding, lending, all of that, and access to buildings has been limited. But nevertheless, that's still something that they're talking about at Preservation North Carolina. We're working with the owners to ensure that they either secure the financing needed to move forward with the rehabilitation work planned for the building, that was A, or B, find a new owner to take on rehabilitating the building for a suitable use. We expect that the owner will know shortly about the financing for this project, sometime within the next 3 to 4 months. They expect to hear shortly from the National Park Service about their revised application for tax credits submitted late last summer. If the financing doesn't work out, we will begin a collaborative effort to find a new owner for the building. Either way, this will take some time to clear the path forward. We've been inside the building and it is weather tight. There's a new roof in place, so deterioration of the building from water intrusion is not an issue. The owner is installing additional lighting and cameras to address safety and security. I will certainly share your concerns with the Board of Preservation North Carolina. We do not know about any federal, state, or local preservation laws and ordinances that have been violated by the owner. Do you? Having that language in the petition is troublesome if there's no evidence of violations. We will continue to work toward a complete rehabilitation of the building. We would appreciate your support for our efforts to work with the owner to secure the best solution for the property moving forward. Sincerely, J. Myrick Howard, President, and it's copied to Maggie Gregg, who is the Regional Director, Eastern Office, Don Williams, HR and Properties Director, and Denise Barnes, PNC Board of Directors, and of course she has a local business here. So my question is, have we had inspections in the past from 2015, July of 2015, to February of 2023, in which violations, code violations have been documented?
I can't answer that. I do not know. The chief may have, no.
No, there have been no inspections or no violations for 8 years.
If you want to do, and I got your email, and I'm trying to do some digging and stuff like that to try to figure some stuff out. If you want to sit down with me to discuss the ordinances, need to be re-looked at, like some of ours that I'm running into with some of these commercial buildings. There's really not anything for commercial.
Thank you, Dwayne. I think it's shocking that there was not a building code inspection in 8 years. I also intend to go back to Preservation North Carolina and say that, of course, was a rhetorical question, right? Because you had full right, the option to inspect that building at any time during the 8 years yourselves to be sure that they were not breaking any codes or violating any codes. So it's really left us in a bad position to be able to ask Preservation North Carolina to exercise that option if we've never gone in and inspected the building for, and I mean, it's clear, you just look at the building, it's not secured, windows are broken, there's all kinds of things that I would think, common sense would tell you, would be code violations that have occurred over the last 8 years, but I honestly don't know how Hood makes any progress. I don't know how we enforce anything if we don't have that documentation. So I appreciate the opportunity to sit
Come
down.
meet with me, and then we'll, like I said, it's like weeding through, a lot of stuff, so a lot of reading, but just come sit down with me and we can look at it.
And if that information could be shared with Meyer
absolutely.
Coward,
Yeah.
I'd appreciate it.
Yeah,
Okay,
no problem.
thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, next is billet bond.
Thank you for hearing me. I have a note here from Mike Dean that I want to read to the town council. But before I do, can I say something on my own half?
You say anything you want to for 3 minutes.
Excuse me?
You can say anything you want to for 3 minutes.
Okay. Talking about getting the paving done around here, well, I noticed that they paved Church Street, and when they got to Mosley Street and to Granville Street and crossed it, Granville Street has potholes right at the intersection, and Mosley Street does too, right at the intersection. And they threw away a lot of paving material on the old Ashley Welding Company parking lot that they could have put in those holes instead of throwing it away. And I think that they should have somebody standing out there to fix these issues while they're paving rather than throw the paving material away. And I am some kind of glad that somebody is doing something to have fun around here in Edenton. Most of the time when you come downtown at nighttime, the streets are rolled up at 9 o'clock. When I was a teenager, we used to drag race down Broad Street on Friday and Saturday night. Of course, we can't do that anymore, but the town needs something to keep it alive, and these guys here are obviously providing it. Let me read the note that I've got here. This is from Mike Dean. Greetings. I apologize for not being there to present this in person, as I have a speaking engagement elsewhere. I scoffed at Mr. Rod Phillips' published letter in which he criticizes the town council greatly for not following through with promises made. But by the same token, town council should have never made any kind of promises without being fully aware of whether or not they could fulfill those promises. Case in point, I've had a brief conversation with one of the councilmen in front of a witness right after the body was served with the lawsuit in December about them reacting to the suit. He thanked me for the action, saying that the council had questions about what they could and could not do, but now they would get an answer from the court. My reply was, if you weren't sure what was legal then, why move forward with the removal of the memorial? He suddenly remembered a lunch date he had to scurry away to before I could get an answer. He will likely remember that, but then council continued moving forward with the plans to move the memorial. Again, without knowing the answers to legality, but rather trying to skirt the law by creating public safety hazard in Hollywood Park. No engineering study has been completed to determine if the land will support the weight It's tragic that we have had to go a step further by seeking a restraining order. And now Mr. Phillips' group is calling for the town to defy the judge's order. It's no wonder lawlessness has become prevalent in historic community.
Thank you, sir. All right, that concludes our public comment, and
Also concludes our meeting.